It's hard to believe I've been at this for a whole year already. And much like my first season of shows, I have to say this round isn't looking too good from a glance. With another bukkake of isekais, continuing disappointments, and a big heaping dose of who gives a shit. But before I even thought about that, I needed to pick shows. And pick shows I did. With my tried and tested method of submitting a bunch of anime names as candidates to the Florida primary, and whichever ones got the most votes were my winners. If all else fails, leave it to that hellhole to do my dirty work for me. And boy did they pick some fucking winners for me. Ahiru no Sora looks like generic sports anime number 12,473, which is probably the number of times I've made that snarky remark. OreSuki nano wa Omae dake kayo is every otaku's pathetic reality, and Honzuki if it was any kind of self-aware. Houkago Psychotoh Club reminds us that girls can be nerdy too, but drops the ball by smashing me in the face with Moe. Honzuki no Gekokujou Shisho ni naru tame ni wa shudan o erande iraremasen is one of the most decent-looking isekais I've ever seen by not being a pure power fantasy. Azur Lane's probably girly Air Force, take 2, but with ships. Chojin Koukousei-tachi wa isekai demo yo yu de ikinuku yo desu is super genius as the isekai and will probably be an accidental comedy. Chuubyou Gekihatsu boy is a gender-swapped shunibyo, looking a bit heavier on the humor. Boku Ben's back for another shot at dominating my seasonal waifu list. Keishicho Tokumu-bu Tokushu Kyouaku-han Taisaku-Shitsu Dai-Nana-ka Toku-nana is some alternate reality modern fantasy detective show that's hell-bent on doubling as a tongue twister. Fairy Gone's taking another turn to wash the stink of failure off, but that's in pretty deep. Assassin's Pride is reverse assassination classroom. Beastars is Japan finally discovering furries. No Gun's life sounds like an absolute fever dream. Mugen no Junin Immortal is a historical fantasy about redemption that caught my eye. My Hero Academia is one of the few things I'm legitimately looking forward to this season. Kabuki Joe Sherlock is an edgy murder mystery with an identity crisis. Rifle is Beautiful is the second goddamn show about guns this season, so I'm putting Japan on a watch list. But at least this one's about the sport. I'm sure you can tell how absolutely delighted I am to be reviewing this season. If only I could be surprised, and most of these turned out to be good. Please? Seriously, I need this. And if you're wondering why I'm so down in the dumps, I invite you to look at this video series' title. Let's start with Ahiru no Sora. I'm not super into sports anime, until I get really into sports anime. I'd rather not bring up the embarrassment Prince of Tennis put me through. Anyway, lucky for me, it's a sport I can at least follow. So a short guy with some decent skills joins the basketball team at his high school, only to find out it's a hangout for delinquents now. The premise is to sort it out and make it into a proper team because he wants to be a basketball star or whatever. The animation is passable, at least at its best, and rough at its worst. Which worries me, because this is a 4-core show, which means we're gonna see a hell of a dip in quality in the coming weeks. I will say, I like the underdog story of reforming a club and its members. First episode sets up a decent premise for a sports anime, and rather than the trope of the new guy wowing everyone on his team and there always being a new, tougher opponent around the corner, I'll give this one credit for trying real character growth. I need a few more episodes to decide if I dislike this one. Hey, do you like to laugh? You should probably get that checked out, because clearly you're not dead inside enough to be on the internet without supervision. It's okay, this show will probably remind you how crappy life is with its pathetic main cast. OreSuki nano wa Omae dake kayo is a romantic comedy about a relatable guy who's the background character in his own life. Anyway, the animation here is awkward. I don't know what it is, but the eyes look off to me and it's distracting. I know it's a nitpick, but something's off. Other than that, it's a serviceable anime production you'll ignore. The writing's not great either. It feels very anime. And I know that's hard to describe. But a lot of this feels so painfully fill in the blank for the medium, you'll be numb to it if it's not your first rodeo. And the show tries too hard to set up the obvious subversion that it ruins the punchline. After that, the main character's just a bitter asshole putting on a smile. Bad writing, bland animation, predictable drama, and mostly missing comedy. Watch at your own risk. Okay, I'm being a bit down on comedy as a genre by this point. So let's look at another air quotes comedy show about cute nerds nerding out. Houkago Psychotoh Club. Though calling this one a comedy is being generous. A girl who isn't great at playing games or doesn't really understand what's so fun about having fun ends up at a game shop and learns the joys of board games. The premise of an introvert coming out of her shell by finding something she enjoys and that she can connect with others over is a bit tired, but not bad. Her two friends she makes are a serious class rep type and a hyper younger looking girl. The animation isn't brimming with style, but it's that generic decent that it's pleasing enough it won't distract you. The kind where you know the studio gave a shit at least, unlike the last few shows I looked at. I feel like comedy was slapped onto this series for want of a genre, but I'm not complaining. This is a relaxing, lighthearted watch about some possible trademark infringing cute girls doing cute things. Lawsuit pending once KyoAni gets back on its feet. For now, it's a tentative recommend. With the shit tsunami of isekais I've been masochistically subjecting myself to as of late, I thought about taking a break, but then Honzuki no Gekokujou Shisho ni naru tame ni wa shudan o erande iraremasen caught my eye. Probably because it isn't an escapist power fantasy, and uses its premise for something the main character can provide to the world without some arbitrary god-given talent. It handles a lot of the questionable tropes of isekai pretty well, with her mind or soul getting put into another girl from that world. Basically what I've been asking for from an isekai for a while. So a bookworm goes to another world when she dies, wants to read, but books are a high-class item, and she basically kicks off the movable print revolution single-handedly.
Oh my god! Movable printed type! We must keep this from the serfs lest they gain literacy and threaten the landed gentry.
I like the setup quite a bit. Animation's nothing to write home about, but it's an interesting story. So it's whatever. Recommended for now. Especially for an isekai. The last few seasons have basically put any hopes for a decent military anime on hold for me. But I'm gonna dare to dream a bit here for Azur Lane. The animation's interesting, the premise isn't awful, and it managed to get me hyped pretty early on. Though the random ecchi inclusion is kind of jarring. An enemy with more advanced technology shows up to Earth, so we develop some badass human machines to fight them. Stop me if you heard that before. But at least this one's executed fairly well at the start. Thinking about it, it's actually kinda weird to anthropomorphize battleships as quirky high school girls. But that's anime for you. Weird and interesting. Soft recommend. Speaking of hating isekais, in case you thought the genre was somehow redeemed, Chojin Koukousei-tachi wa isekai demo yoyu de ikinuku yo desu reminds us that they're mostly bland power trips that are a dime a dozen you can find in any shonen anime. So a bunch of super geniuses from Japan end up in another world. Politician, entrepreneur, magician, journalist, doctor, inventor, and samurai. And yeah, they're all high school kids. With their talents being the best at all that stuff, they basically embark on getting home and changing the entire world they find themselves in. It's not super interesting, because it's predictable how they'll use their talents to do that. But mostly because the characters are completely unrealistic and the setting is generic as hell. I'm having a hard time caring. The animation doesn't stand out as anything special, much like this entire show. If you like isekais, you'll like this. If you don't, it's an easy pass. At this point, I just want a comedy that can actually deliver. And I'm eyeing Chuubyou Gekihatsu boy for just that. The opening is at least an upbeat mess to put you in the mood for the antics you're about to see. So a girl is thrust into the orbit of a group of friends, each suffering from some serious Chuubyou, which is adolescent delusions of grandeur characterized by role-playing whatever anime fantasy they like most. One's the typical dark loner with a sealed alternate identity, the other's really into live-action Sentai shows, and one's a hot guy infatuated with a mobile game character. While cringy in different ways, they're genuinely decent people, so you don't outright hate them. The main girl playing the straight man / idiot wrangler leads to some funny moments too. Not to mention it sets up some subversion well, by using the eye patch trope to make you think she has Chuubyou too. She just has an eye infection. While I wasn't in stitches, it's a fun little show that didn't blow ass. A mild recommend. Bokutachi wa Benkyou ga Dekinai Season 2 is more of Season 1. If you liked Boku Ben in the spring, you'll like this. The show grew on me a little bit from being pretty okay to decently okay. But I'm just mixing shades of gray here. Luckily, I thought the later episodes were the better ones. So we'll see if this continues that trend. Not much else to say besides that. At least I know there's one comedy that can make me smirk consistently this season. For those who like ecchi comedies, slapstick, and harem. I'm getting sick of the comedy and isekai junk already. So Keishicho Tokumu-bu Tokushu Kyouaku-han Taisaku-Shitsu Dai-Nana-ka Toku-nana is something completely different. An alternate reality police action series. The storytelling here is really weird. It has a pretty interesting setting, but doesn't really care about it enough and just wants to get to its plot of a newbie detective bumbling his way through life. Nothing really wrong with that, that's why we're here after all. But it also kind of begs the question, are the elves, vampires, and dwarves a gimmick or an integral part of the story? After the first episode, it feels like copcraft without the charm, or political message. But a slightly better animation budget, even if I don't like the art direction. Kind of a mixed bag in this first episode, but I'll follow it for a bit longer to see where it goes. Pick it up if you like modern mixed with high fantasy, or police action. All I know is that if the punchline here is 7, 8, 9, I'm gonna lose my shit. Speaking of being fed up with comedy, let's laugh at Fairy Gone for a bit. It's back. And those who missed me saying it was shit in the spring for Tolkien-esque world building without a single shit given to its predictable story, you're caught up to speed. Why am I watching Season 2, you might ask? Well, because I'm a masochist who likes to complain about crap anime. And I already watched the first season. If you liked Fairy Gone in the spring, this is the rest of it. You're probably already aware of what you're getting into, so enjoy yourself. Since I'm unintentionally organizing this video by tone, Assassin's Pride is a more serious action show that left me with a good impression. It centers around a top-tier assassin undercover as a tutor to a young lady, whom he's ordered to kill if she sucks at the world's magic powers, or whatever. Sure, let's go with that. The setting stands out as pretty unique. Taking place in a giant multi-chambered glass tome atop a mountain, as humanity's last city against some mysterious monsters. Another fantasy show with trains and guns still, but not a period piece. The animation's not bad either. The fight scenes can certainly show off when they want to, but it feels like they're going for flashy just in those segments, as the rest of the series is pretty bland in terms of shot composition. And due to the setting, The backgrounds feel uninteresting in most outdoor scenes. Oh look, a dark pitch gray sky. How creative. The dialogue's super cringy too at times, but other than that, the story has me interested. The animation isn't making me throw up at least, and by the standards of what's come ahead of it, it's faring the best. I know what you're expecting. You think I'm gonna rag on this show for being a furry recruitment in the anime fandom. But you're wrong. I actually just hate this anime with a passion because of the animation. Which is sad, because this also has some of the best CG I've ever seen in an all-CG anime. Expressive models, dynamic camera movements, and a ton of color to give the impression they actually tried. So, why the hell do I hate it? Because it's still painfully obvious it's CG. In motion, it looks bad. For whatever reason, television anime with CG looks like it's stuck in the PS2 era with movement. And it doesn't blend together well for scenes like this. It still feels like they're trying to do an anime in CG, rather than just do their own thing. And it's failing in my opinion because it reeks of a poor imitation. These low frame rates are to mimic the low frequency of in-between frames in traditional 2D. But it just looks choppy here. And I hate that I hate this for that reason. Because I shouldn't. Anyway, if you're wondering if I forgot to talk about it, the plot's Zootopia. I like the storyline and the world set up here. But if I have to give some sort of recommendation or not, this is for people who don't hate CG like me. Because I'll fully admit, this one's just not for me. I don't really know how to segue into this because I can barely comprehend what I watched with this show. So No Gun's life is about a guy with a giant gun for a head. In a post-war-torn world, people were turned into cyborgs with guns for heads. These cyborgs go crazy and our protagonist is one of those guys who hasn't. So he runs a detective agency that stops these renegade cyborgs. And not all of them have guns for heads, but human body modification through cybernetics. This one's weird. The animation's pretty okay, not really stylized to get me hyped up. And the main guy kinda reminds me of Al from Fullmetal Alchemist. Besides this show having a weird protagonist with a striking silhouette, nothing else really stands out about it. A pretty bog-standard detective plot, passable animation, and that's about it. Pretty lukewarm to this one overall. So, here's the most half-hearted recommend I can give because this season is otherwise lacking in good shows. Mugen no Junin Immortal is a decent drama series set in historical Japan, with supernatural elements. If you love stylized animation with incredible detail and line work, pushed further by excellent cinematography, this will be a treat for you. So a gory story about a dude cursed with immortality gets sick of the whole not dying thing, when he realizes he can't do shit else besides kill others. So rather than take some classes and improve himself, he sets out on a mission to take the lives of 100 evil men, to make up for each of the good ones he's killed. The witch who cursed him agrees, and he sets off to right his wrongs with a girl out for revenge against the people who killed her family. The show's gory, detailed, and filled with a ton of character growth. And I love it. An easy standout so far in this season. Definitely recommended. My Hero Academia Season 4 is more of what you're already in love with if you've been following the anime or manga. In the hands of Bones, we already know the animation's gonna be top-notch, and this is an amazing arc they're covering this round. So not much else to say. If you like amazing fight scenes packed with character moments, and the only thing you were wanting was a Dotaru to protect, then this is the season for you. So time to look at a show I was interested in because it's a murder mystery with a comedy tag. I'm expecting a ton of dark humor, so one would hope Kabuki Joe Sherlock will deliver among its confused mess of genres. And I'd be wrong. Mostly it's just a string of gay, trans, and fish out of water jokes centered around a budget elf from Death Note. So mysterious murders are happening in this city, and it's up to this guy to solve the mystery. I like the art direction quite a bit in this first episode, how shots are framed and what the camera chooses to focus on. Production IG can do good work when they decide to actually give a shit. Even if this guy's face looks like a block of wood wearing a mask. The show's not really funny, but more quirky. I kinda like it in theory, so I'll follow it for a bit. But I don't have high expectations. Speaking of lowered expectations, Rifle is Beautiful is your typical slice-of-life club show starring cute girls, taking out their frustrations on the world by shooting guns. Okay, they're not shooting actual guns? This show doesn't take place in the States after all, but it's about laser guns. Basically, it feels like some arcade game people are taking way too seriously. Another show in the vein of cute girls doing obscure activity, but with some sports anime themes mixed in. And it's based on a 4-koma, so expect some fast-paced dialogue. And I've gotta say, this package works for what it is. I'm not blown away by it, but it's decidedly okay. The animation's cute too, so if you're really in need for some generic personalities that have typical anime designs done in a cute style, doing some off-the-wall nerdy crap, then this is right up your alley. At least some of the visual gags made me chuckle. So, it's recommended. And with that said, I'm ready to call this whole season quits with the sheer amount of meh floating around the toilet bowl. There really wasn't much I could flat out say I was looking forward to after these first impressions, and that's a tad worrying. All I can say for sure is, I really hope this whole good shows thing isn't cyclical, peaking in the spring and slumping hard in the fall. Hey, you made it to the end of the video! Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and do all that other YouTube stuff because that really helps me out. And I'd like to give a special thanks to Phil Corona for making this video possible. Thanks for watching.